Hey witches, welcome back. My name is Deidre and this is Wordy Witch Writes, where we talk about everything related to writing. Specifically, this channel focuses on my writing process and what I'm doing while I write a cozy paranormal mystery series. So if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I just recently finished book 1, draft 1 of this series, and I need to start book 2. One thing that I want to do differently this time is do a detailed outline. In the past, I've done very rough, like bullet point outlines, nothing very specific, but I've been seeing this thing on the internet when I started looking up detailed plans, and they were index cards. I want to try this because I want to write a little bit faster, and I also want to try to see if it helps me with the editing process later on. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I actually have 3 self-published novels. My first one is called The Haunting of Locker 31. It's a young adult paranormal mystery, and it was not planned at all. It was something that I actually wrote when I was in high school, and then when I started really thinking about becoming an author, I went back through my books of notebooks that I had from high school where I wrote all of my stories, and I found this one, and I didn't actually end up keeping much of the story, just the basic idea and the main character's name. That's the only thing that stayed the same while I wrote that novel. And but I didn't plan anything. I just kind of like I did in high school, where I would just sit in the back of the classroom writing. I just typed it out, and it took a lot of editing. I did hire a professional editor to help me with that process, and I'm really glad I did. But because of that process, it made me actually want to plan my next novel, which was Three Finger Jack and the Deadly Ghost Story series. And that's where I did the bullet pointed one, and it helped. I still had a lot of edits that I had to do because there were things that I'd be writing and I was like, oh, I did not introduce this before, and I'd have to go back. And so that led me to writing my third novel, which I still just followed that format because it was better than when I just free-handed or by the seat of my pants did everything. But now that I just finished this other novel, I want to try something different. I need to write faster if I want to make this self-publishing authorpreneur business a thing, and I want to write better stories. I want to make them so there aren't glaring holes that I have to fix or leave or take out, and just that takes away from my time of like really refining the words as opposed to filling in plots. I hope that makes sense. So I went on to YouTube and I started looking up plotting ideas, and I've seen this one before, and it was the index card method. So I'd decided before I finished draft 1 of book 1 that I was going to do this index card thing. So you saw me in last week's video start planning them out, and this is just what they look like. Okay, I did Act 2B, and there's like a scene on the back, and I think for each act I had 10 scenes, which I don't know how that would break down into chapters. So I guess each scene would have been a chapter. But I really wasn't enjoying that. It really wasn't making sense in my head. So I went back to a book that I've read in the past called Save the Cat Writes a Novel. I'm sure if you don't know what that is and you're interested in learning how to outline a novel, that is a great book to start with. It was taken from a guy who wrote it originally for screenplays, and the author translated it for novels, and she breaks down how each genre has its own like beats or series or sequences that it follows that the reader kind of expects while they're reading, and it also gives examples from several different novels, and she does warn you at the top of each chapter that there are going to be warning breaks in that, I guess, spoilers about those books. So if you have that on your TBR list and you don't want spoilers, you can just skip over that chapter, but it really breaks it down. So I read the one again for the Why Done It series, so the detective mystery series that she recommends. And then I also found a book on Kindle Unlimited. I love Kindle Unlimited, by Nina Harrington, about how to write a cozy mystery, and she just basically took Save the Cat and she explained it in terms of cozy mysteries. So combining those two things along with some of the YouTube videos, I came up with my next plan. which got a little crazy for a while. I was gonna do color coding, sequencing, all of this stuff. I had like pink cards for my main plot and blue for one of my subplots, and then a yellow for another subplot, and then green for some of the other characters, the bad guy every time they showed up. And it was just like going to start looking a little like this. So I decided to just really simplify things, and I just broke it down to 3 acts. I have Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And then I broke it down into sequences. So based on what I read in The State of the Cat and the Nina Harrington book, I broke all of them down, and I think I have 11 sequences, which I don't know. Yeah, so I go down to 11. And I wrote those out onto just white note cards. So I have like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 written down on a white note card. And then I did sequences with black and pink ink. And then on the back, I just wrote down what should happen in that sequence. And then the next thing that I did was each sequence is going to be in a color. There's no rhyme or reason to the colors. It's just so like it pops and I can see the transition visually on the board that I'm going to put it on. And then each one I put a tentative chapter number. I'm not going to hold true to those. I like to wait to put chapters into my draft during the editing process because things get moved around and it makes things complicated. So I don't have enough colored cards to do like pink only once, so it's just going to be like a fun pattern that goes through. I think it's just going to look nice, but also like help me break up where each sequence starts because there's only so much room on the board. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all of these cards that I've written and I'm going to go put them on the board, and I'm going to speed up the video, put on some fun music, and you guys can watch me put that together. I actually tried to do this in a video the other day so you guys could see it, and Spock helped me, and this is what happened. Okay, Spock is just apparently in the mood to play. He's just, oh my gosh, not right now, kitty. We're gonna do it again. He seems a little bit more pacified today. He's taking a nap, so hopefully I can lay the board down, or maybe I'll just leave it up on the table so he doesn't eat anything, and then, yeah, okay. I'm gonna go do that, and then I'll just talk to you guys in a second right after this. Okay, so that was my outline laid out on the board. I'm sure that you guys could see that I only actually have anything written down on Act 1 cards. So I've started going through and planning things out. I really like the layout of the colors. It is going to take me a couple more days, I think, to really flush out the ideas of Act 2 and then Act 3. But I wanted to get this video filmed so you guys could just kind of see what I'm doing, and it was actually really helpful. I took a break from outlining and I actually started writing, and I'm already almost 16,000 words into it. I'm almost done with Act 1, so I'm going to definitely have to plan today with Act 2 so I can have something to write during the week. And then I don't know if I'm going to do, I really kind of liked just focusing on Act 1, so I might just focus on Act 2. And then once I'm done with Act 2, focus on Act 3. I already know who the murder victim is, obviously, and I know who did it, and I know the other suspects. I've done all of that. So I'm not super worried about like ruining Act 3. but because I already know that, and maybe Act 3 will just happen when I plan Act 2. I already have it all in my head, like the basics of it. I just have to flush it out on there. It is making me write faster. And then, yeah, so that is what my board looks like. I'm going to have Chris hang it up over here once I have everything written, so it'll be always available for me. And I'm excited to see if it will help. We'll see together if this is something that works or if I need to find another plotting method. But thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this inspires you or intrigues you about my story. And if you are interested in any of the previous books that I mentioned, my previous self-published novels, I've put them down in the link below, along with my website where you can contact me if you have any questions or if you're interested in my editing services. All right, talk to you later, witches.